On this week's Garage 31, I'm going to show you how to install a brand new Shimano bottom bracket. We're going to put it on this new raw frame. And I'll also show you how to install the crank arms and set the preload. So let's go. So to install a brand new bottom bracket, you're going to need obviously a new bottom bracket. This is a Saint threaded. We've got some brand new Saint cranks too. These are the downhill ones, so they're a little bit wider than maybe a trail bike, but I'll explain that later. Also need a tape measure because we're going to measure the bottom bracket shell, and that'll tell us the spacers we need. Tool to install the bottom bracket itself, and some grease as well, because we're going to need to grease up the axle for the crank and grease up the threads in the frame. With the threaded bottom brackets, there's a few different sizes. Enduro bikes will have 68 or 73 mil wide shells. Downhill bikes will have 83, and then fat bikes and everything like that will go higher. And this is specifically for threaded bottom brackets. If you've got a press fit bottom bracket, these sizes are going to be different. They're going to be the equivalent of a 68, 73 threaded is a 89.5 or a 92 press fit. A little bit confusing, but just remember threaded versus press fit, two different sizes. I have my tape measure here. I'm just going to measure the shell, so it's inside or outside of the shell to the outside of the shell. This being a downhill bike should be 83, which it is. That means we're going to need 2 spacers on this side, 1 spacer on the other side for this particular bike. If you had a 73 or a 68 mil shell, if you had a 73, you'd use 1 spacer here, 0 on the other side. If you have a 68, it'd be the same as an 83, so 2 on this side, 1 on the other side. Something else to note is that this is an English style thread. That's what the terminology is, which means that the drive side is actually a left-hand thread and the non-drive side is a right-hand thread. So just bear it in mind, don't start turning this side the normal way to tighten, because you'll wreck the threads and you'll have to chase it. And I've seen a couple of frames written off by people turning the bottom bracket shell the wrong way. So non-drive side is, well, which is this side here, is right-hand thread. Drive side is a left-hand thread. So you're gonna turn it the opposite way. So I'm gonna take a reasonable amount of grease. I'm gonna put it on the threads on the inside. I'll stop it seizing and make it go on a little bit better. Other side too. And we'll do the same with the bottom bracket shell threads as well. The bottom bracket itself is comprised of a right hand cup. It says R in there and the direction to tighten. And the inner shell, which keeps water and mud out of the bearings in here. These do have O-rings, which we will grease. And then the other shell and the spacers and the end cap. So we're gonna take some grease, put some on the threads there. And I like to go in the inside too. Shimano bottom brackets normally have a pretty decent amount of grease on the inside, but no harm in putting more on. I'll lube up these O-rings here to create a waterproof seal. Now this part here is directional. It will have a left and a right written on it, so important to note that. I'll just finish off this one. I have my spacers here. They're all the same. They're all 2.5 millimeters. So we're gonna put, because this is an 83 as we measured, we're gonna put 1 on, 2 on. Find the direction of this guy here, which is there. Put that in, make sure that's seated. Left-hand cup is 1 spacer, so we'll put 1 on there. And now this is ready to go in the frame. So I'll take my right-hand cup. I'm gonna put it in the bottom bracket here. I'm actually gonna turn it as if I was to tighten normally, so right, and you'll feel the threads flick over. And when you feel that, then you can go in reverse direction. If you can get it almost all the way done by hand, then you know your threads are good. Grab my tool. I believe they should be about 50 Newton meters, so pretty tight, or as tight as you can get with a reasonable sized tool. Now we'll just do the other side. So this is the left-hand side, or the non-drive side. Now this is normal thread, so we can just go straight in. Kind of like to go backwards first, and then you can feel the threads stop, and then you go forwards. tighten this up. All good. So with this too, we're gonna apply grease to the axle here. This is steel, so we don't want this corroding, especially on the bearings. So I'm gonna apply grease just to the top here where the bearing sits, like that, and then down where the other bearing sits. And there'll probably be enough grease in this anyway that there'll be too much, but the splines here. Now this is ready to go in. I have my greased crank, go in there. These will be quite tight, so normally I'll use a soft face mallet on this side to seat it. There we go. Spins nice. There is a spline we have to match. This big one here is larger than all the other ones, and that corresponds with that spline there. So this is going to be where that one goes, and also it won't go on. There's also a hole at the top here, there, where the plastic clip on this crank arm, this plastic clip here, is going to sit down into once we're done. So this is kind of safety retainer, so just bear that in mind. So I'll orientate my crank the right way. Slides on. Now I'm going to grease up the end cap here, and we'll stick this one on. Greased up end cap. This one's aluminum, so I'll stick that in there. Spin that around. This does have a special fitting on it. It's like a eight stars or 8 points. If you don't have this, you can use an 8mm Allen key and a 5mm Allen key, and they'll work just as well as this. So you don't actually need this tool. An 8mm and a 5mm, both in there at the same time. We'll undo this. Now we're looking to tighten this so that it just bottoms out, and then we're going to go back again, and then just as it bottoms out, so I'm putting very light pressure on it. We're just trying to take up the space here, and if I spin that, it should be very smooth and spin a lot. We're not trying to tighten this up like a bolt. We're just trying to tighten this up like a headset and take the preload out. So that feels pretty good to me there. There's no play. Maybe a little bit tighter. Spins very smooth. Now we can put this clip down, which goes into that hole. And then we'll just tighten these bolts up. Now, pretty much all Shimano cranks, this will be there'll be 2 5mm bolts. We're gonna go, it should be up to 5 Newton meters, but I'll show you not 5, 12. Tighten one up as much as you can, then we'll do the other side. I'm gonna repeat that process a few times. You'll feel that one get looser and looser. So there's how to install a brand new Shimano bottom bracket, how to size it, and what spacers you need. Remember to use lots of grease, and also how to install a Holotech 2 style crankset and adjust the preload properly. The 5 and the 8mm Allen key trick on the preload cap is really good if you don't have a tool for that. And now the cranks spin really smooth, and because the preload's set correctly, the bearings, the bottom bracket itself is going to last a lot longer than like a bike off the shelf with the preload set incorrectly. So if you found this useful, please leave a like, comment as well, subscribe to the channel. There's lots of good information coming out, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.